The Cat Who Learned to Swim. Once upon a time, in a little town nestled by the sea, there lived a curious cat named Whiskers. Whiskers was no ordinary feline. He had a sleek grey coat, a pink nose that twitched with excitement, and a pair of sparkling green eyes that missed nothing. He lived with a kind old lady named Mrs. Maple, who loved him dearly and treated him to the softest pillows, the tastiest treats, and the coziest spots by the window where he could watch the world go by. Every morning, Whiskers would sit on the windowsill and gaze out at the endless blue ocean. He watched seagulls swoop and dive, fishermen haul in their nets, and children build sandcastles on the shore. But most of all, he watched the waves, how they ebbed and flowed, sparkling in the sunlight, whispering secrets to the sand. The sea filled Whiskers with wonder, but there was one thing Whiskers never dared to do. He never set a paw in the water. Like most cats, he believed that water was best admired from a distance. Baths were bad enough, but the ocean, that was for fish and boats and brave swimmers, not for a house cat who liked his fur neat and dry. One breezy afternoon, as Whiskers napped in the sun, he heard the sound of laughter drifting in through the open window. He stretched and padded over to see what was happening. On the beach below, a group of children were racing each other to the tide, their feet splashing in the surf. Among them was a little girl named Emma, who always waved to Whiskers whenever she saw him. Today, Emma was not running. Instead, she was sitting on the shore, watching her friends play. She looked sad. Whiskers, being a thoughtful cat, was concerned. He leapt down from the windowsill, trotted through the garden, and slipped out the gate onto the sandy path that led to the beach. As he approached, Emma spotted him and smiled a little. "Hello, Whiskers," she said softly, reaching out to scratch behind his ears. Whiskers purred and rubbed against her, hoping to cheer her up. "What's wrong?" he seemed to ask with his big green eyes. Emma sighed. "I want to swim like my friends, but I'm afraid. The water looks so deep and cold. What if I can't do it?" Whiskers understood. He, too, had always been afraid of the water. But seeing Emma so sad made him want to be brave, for her and for himself. He looked at the sea, then at Emma, then back at the sea. Suddenly, an idea twinkled in his mind. What if, just this once, he tried to learn how to swim? Maybe if he did, Emma would feel brave enough to try too. Whiskers squared his shoulders, gave his fur a determined lick, and marched down to the edge of the water. The waves lapped at his paws, cool and ticklish. It felt strange, but not as scary as he'd imagined. He took a deep breath and waded in a little farther, until the water reached his belly. Emma watched in amazement. "Whiskers, are you swimming?" Not quite yet, but Whiskers was determined. He lifted his paws and tried to paddle, just as he'd seen the children and dogs do. At first he splashed and floundered, but soon he found a rhythm. His paws moved in circles, his tail swished for balance, and miracle of miracles, he was floating. Emma clapped her hands. "You're doing it, Whiskers! You're swimming!" Whiskers couldn't believe it himself. The water was cool, but the sun was warm on his back. The waves rocked him gently, and he felt lighter than air. He paddled in a wide circle, then swam back to shore, where Emma was waiting with a big towel. "You were so brave," she said, wrapping him up and giving him a cuddle. "Maybe I can be brave too." Inspired by Whiskers, Emma dipped her toes in the water. It was chilly, but with Whiskers by her side, she felt safe. She waded in up to her knees, then her waist, and finally she took a deep breath and floated on her back, just like Whiskers had done. Their laughter mingled with the sound of the waves. Soon, the other children noticed and came over to cheer them on. Whiskers, now dry and fluffy, sat proudly on a rock, watching Emma swim with her friends. From that day on, Whiskers was known as the cat who learned to swim. He became a legend on the beach, and Emma became the bravest swimmer of all. Sometimes, on sunny afternoons, you could see them both paddling in the shallows, Emma with her bright smile, and Whiskers with his determined little paddle. And whenever someone was scared to try something new, they remembered the story of the cat who faced his fears and discovered a whole new world of adventure. Whiskers still liked his window seat and his cozy naps, but now he knew that there was nothing he couldn't try if he set his mind to it. And that's how a curious cat and a brave girl became the best of friends, proving that even the biggest fears can be washed away by a little courage, a lot of heart, and the magic of friendship. As the seasons changed, Whiskers became a familiar sight on the sand. He even inspired other cats in the neighborhood to try dipping their paws in the water. Some were content to watch, but a few adventurous kittens took to paddling in the shallow pools left by the tide, always keeping an eye on Whiskers, their hero. Emma's parents were amazed by her transformation. She became more confident, not just in the water but at school and at home. If she ever felt nervous, she would remember Whiskers' brave swim, and her worries would shrink away like footprints in the sand. One crisp autumn morning, the beach was quiet. Most of the summer visitors had gone, and the air smelled of salt and falling leaves. Whiskers and Emma sat together, watching the gulls wheel above the waves. "Do you think you'll ever swim to the little island out there?" Emma asked, pointing to a tiny patch of land just off the coast. Whiskers considered this. The island was far, and the water between looked deep, but he remembered how scared he'd been the first time and how proud he'd felt afterwards. He gave Emma a look that said, "Maybe one day." For now, he was content to enjoy the moment, the warmth of friendship, and the gentle lullaby of the sea. As the sun set, casting golden light across the water, Whiskers purred contentedly. He had learned that sometimes the scariest adventures could lead to the happiest endings. And with friends by your side, there was no limit to what you could do. So, if you ever find yourself standing at the edge of something new and a little bit scary, just remember Whiskers, the cat who learned to swim. With a little courage and a big heart, you can do anything you dream. And that, dear one, is the story of the cat who learned to swim.